Hello, Lou Hamilton of Audible Elegance here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Welcome to the back room of Audible Elegance and our bench. I thought I'd take the time tonight to talk about fuses and why they look certain ways and what values to use. The first golden rule is if you have a product failure is to check the fuse. Now, fuses can be found on the back panel of a product, but on power amplifiers, there's some inside that's on what we call the rail fuses, and there may be a fuse on the power supply. So you have to check them all to try to figure out what's going on. Now, if you're going to be checking fuses, please unplug the unit. You aren't getting fried. And if you're going inside of an amplifier, watch out for the catch, particularly if the posts are up on the upside, which is what happens in like ADCOM amplifiers and things like that. If you touch one of those things, you will be lit up. And maybe you'll still be alive. Now, traditionally, the fuses that we dealt with were known as AGCs, and it has a thin wire, it's a glass enclosure, and this sort of length. And oftentimes the way you can tell that the fuse visually was blown is that this surface here would have essentially metal coating on it, very reflective. In other words, it was toast. Now, along came another version, which is known as the slow blow. So this would accept a bit of a surge and still remain intact, where if you had an immediate current draw, it would take out an AGC. Now, when replacing fuses, you replace only with the value that was in it or less. You never put a greater value in. That'll guarantee well, I shouldn't say guarantee, but it'll be more likely that you'll destroy other pieces of the product that you're just trying to resurrect with a fuse. You can go slightly less and maybe it'll hold up. But never, ever go greater. Do not substitute slow blow fuses for quick blows. Now, the world was a happy camper, but there was a problem, and the European market picked off on it, and that is when fuses would blow, sometimes the glass would shatter and have a potential as a fire risk. So what they came along with was the requirement to use what are known as ceramic fuses. Again, they can be fast blow or slow blow, but with the ceramic, it guaranteed that during the heat process, instant flash, that they would not shatter and have a potential of a fire. There's also the smaller guys which came along, little guys like that. I can pull some out, but you get the picture. Again, they went through glass, and then they also went through ceramic versions. Now, if you're going to test a fuse, the best way of testing a fuse is to get it out of the socket that it's in. Now, in the screw mount on the back, that's easy. You pull the whole assembly out and you just pull the fuse out. And if you have, a handy multimeter, and you can even go to like Harbor Freight and buy a $7 or $8 one. And what you want to have is the ability for it to produce sound. It'll be a continuity. And so if I have a full circuit, you hear the beep. So if I have a good fuse, it's out of the circuit, you're going to hear that. This approach works about 100% of the time. There are some really weird exceptions, which is the fouling of the actual clips that hold the fuses, where the fuse tests fine, but it still doesn't, essentially make the connection. It's usually in the clip itself or how it's attached to the circuit board. But that's what you're looking for, is the continuity. It's not as effective if you leave the fuse in the circuit itself. I always like to pull them. There are fuse pullers out there. They're little plastic pieces. I'm not sure where we have ours right now. But, they're a couple bucks. If you don't have that, if you have, I prefer using like the Q-tips, particularly if they're wooden, to lift the fuse out. I'm not in favor of using screwdrivers because you get into the continuity and the potential of damaging something. So I'll use something like these and just pop the fuse out. Once one end is up, it's usually pretty easy to just grab and pull the other end out. Or you can use, needle nose pliers to effectively grab it, or, hemostats, anything. Again, all the time you're doing this, the unit is unplugged. Now, once you insert the fuse in, particularly if you get the C over the unit itself, power's off, you plug it in, hit the power button, and with the clear fuses, if you see a flash, you pretty much probably have a dead short in that circuit somewhere. And that usually occurs in the output stage when you fried it. At that point, it's shop time. Fuse ain't going to do it. And trust me, bigger fuse isn't going to do it. And for God's sakes, like I saw in panel boxes, don't put aluminum foil in. I've seen that in some electronics too. I want to cry. So that's the basics of what you can run into with fuses. Pretty much, I would recommend going to the ceramics, but clearly you're not going to get a visual indication that they have failed, which these guys will do. On the slow blows, you'll usually see the coil burnt. Every once in a while, if you try to do a visual inspection, where it actually burned up might be underneath the cap. And that's why you have to go to a continuity checker. If it doesn't have the beep, then the other way you can look at it is if it has a scale of resistance, you should see that resistance essentially pegged all the way. It shouldn't be part of the scale, and you should go boom, and that's it. So that's the world of fuses. I thought I'd give some people some help on that. Some people get confused. Unfortunately, we no longer have the glory of Radio Shack around the corner where you could pick up fuses all day long pretty cheaply. So the alternative now is going to the automotive stores where they may have some of these fuses. More likely they have the bayonet type, which is not used in electronics that I've seen. So that's pretty much it. Otherwise, you're going to have to use some mail order firm and sit there and wait, overnight or a couple of days to get the fuses to find out whether it's alive or dead. And hopefully it's not fried, because then you spent 2 days waiting for something just to watch it fail. But that happens. And there we are. Thank you.